Hey, what's up, my friends? JT DeBoldis with you today for the Elite Marketing Pro Daily Dose of Awesome, your 15 minutes of inspiration, education, and motivation to help you get your day started off right. And today is a Friday, closing out another big week here in the EMP community, and grateful as always to be with you. I say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from on the Big Blue Marble. Thanks for joining us here each and every single Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And as you're jumping out, let me know where you are tuning in from on the Big Blue Marble so I can give you a big shout out, send you a little bit of love, and just generally say hello to you. Hey, Rosemary Fritz coming in from Illinois. What's happening? I know you guys are freezing cold out there, so bundle up, stay warm. Great to have you with us. Marilyn Hennigan Beggs coming in from Idaho. What's up, my fellow Idahoan? I'm not from Idaho, right? Or I'm not living in Idaho, but from Idaho originally. So it's good to see you out there. Zara Dax coming in from Switzerland. What's up? Jill Samuel coming in from Calgary. Sally Tamar Prague, one of my favorite UK folks out there. Freda Huff, what's going on? Freda, good to see you. Curtis Bradley coming in from Ohio. What's going on, man? Good to see you guys. Lots of folks coming in from the UK, Denmark. I see some folks coming in from Berlin, Pennsylvania. Roger that. Good to see you. Central Pennsylvania, New Orleans, Calgary's in the house. All right, lots of great people showing up. Great to be with you on a Friday. I want to talk to you today about something that comes up a lot in both the Fast Track workshops, when we do our workshops pretty much monthly now. We're starting to ramp those up. So if you haven't yet registered, if you're in the Fast Track program, whether it's acceleration or elevation, make sure you're getting yourself to those workshops as you get qualified for those. Do everything you got to do. I know there's like a 90-day process where you get yourself ramped up and ready to go. But as soon as you're ready to go, make sure you get yourself registered for those, get yourself on a plane. It's going to be an awesome 3 days. We always enjoy having you guys out there. Lots of learning going on. And I'm going to share with you today one of the more common things that come up in those workshops, as well as on the Fast Track webinars. In fact, this came up just yesterday when myself and Matt Barron, the great Matty B. If you guys love Matty B, give me a double thumbs up, man. Who doesn't love Matt Barron, man? He's a great dude. Give me a thumbs up in the chat box. A little bit of shout out for Matt Barron. Anyway, we were doing the Fast Track workshop yesterday, the Fast Track webinar rather, and a great conversation came up. So as you well know, if you come on those webinars, we talk about your ad copy. We do a lot of ad reviews, talk about things like that. And what was interesting is we kind of dove a little bit deeper into a concept that comes up quite a bit. And I want to share it with you today because I think it's something that regardless of where you are in your business, this is something you've got to get used to. Hey, see lots of thumbs up. That's awesome, man. Lots of love for my boy, Matty Barron. Great to see that. Lots of folks saying they love him. All right, that's cool. Now listen, whether or not you realize it, you have a lot of value and a lot of talent to share with the world. The challenge I think a lot of people have is that they feel like they're not an authority yet. So we're going to talk about the authority factor and how important it is. I'm going to actually talk to you about two things that happened to me this week that drove that point home. The first one was I was reading a magazine that I've subscribed to for probably the last maybe 6 or 7 years. It's a magazine in the personal and professional growth world. It's a success style magazine, whatever you want to call it, designed to help people. Personal development, professional development, entrepreneur type stuff. This is a magazine that's been around for a very long time. It's a print magazine. In fact, it started way back, I think, in the 20s, and then it kind of went away, and then it came back. And I'm not going to say the name of the magazine because, unfortunately, to me, it sort of started to lose its esteem. It sort of started to lose some of its quality. It went through a leadership change a couple of years ago. The editor-in-chief left to go do his own thing. They brought in a new, younger dude. And ever since then, to me, it's just sort of lost its impact, and it's been the case for even my wife has noticed that. And I got to thinking, I was reading one of the articles in it, and again, I subscribe to this, so I pay for this magazine. You'd think, okay, JT, maybe you should stop your subscription, maybe you should learn a lesson here. But there was a really powerful, impactful lesson that hit me. So I was just going through one of the articles, and I'm reading it, and I'm thinking to myself, man, the advice they're giving here is really just sort of trite. It's very surface level. It's not really anything that moves the needle. It's not something that's highly impactful. And it felt like back in the day, it used to be impactful. Now, what's interesting is right now we're currently getting ready to move from our house. We're going to move into another house a couple miles down the road. And so we're in the process of boxing stuff up, and we're just going through our library, boxing up all our books. and we came across a huge stack of these magazines from way back in the day. Now, I am not a hoarder. In fact, it drives me nuts to have clutter and to have a lot of stuff, but we had collected all of these old back issues of this particular magazine for a very long time. And I thought, man, maybe back in those days when I first started to read this and I was really impacted by it, maybe the content was just that much better. So I kind of took a quick perusal, a quick look through the magazine and realized really not much has changed. Now, that's a good thing and sort of a challenging thing, but what it really drove home to me was the magazine hasn't changed. I have changed. Now, I share this with you because for a very long time, I held this magazine in high esteem. I thought, man, these thought leaders are the real people out there making an impact. When all of a sudden it occurred to me, you do not have to be a quote unquote expert to make an impact. All right. You don't have to be an expert to be the person that has answers and solutions. Now, by no means am I saying I'm smarter or better than these people. I just came to a point where I realized I've outgrown this. And my challenge to you is to take a look in your business right now and ask yourself, have you created more growth? Have you become more of really an authority than you even realize? Now, by no means, again, am I trying to compare myself to anybody that is featured in this magazine or even publishes or writes for this magazine. But what I did realize is that it's very easy and very common for us to sort of undermine our own technical abilities, to undermine our own expertise. And I see it again and again and again, both at the workshops and even yesterday when we were doing the webinar. We've got lots of great people out there that are super smart, but they hold themselves back. They think, well, you know, there's this person, so-and-so, they're a subject matter expert. There's this person over here, they're a guru. Oh man, this person over there, just look at their results they've gotten. I haven't gotten any results. Who would want to listen to me, right? It's a very common thing. If you've ever felt this, type a 1 in the chat box. If you've ever felt yourself sort of undermining your own success or undermining your own expertise, undermining even your own wisdom because you look at somebody else, give me a 1 in the chat box. I want you to be completely honest with yourself and with me. As I say very often, the most dangerous lie you can tell is the lie you tell yourself. So if you know in your heart of hearts that you've been one of those people that have held yourself back, one of those people that have maybe personally judged yourself, maybe one of those people that have had a little bit of self-prejudice as you approach and look at your business and go, well, who would really listen to me? I'm not an authority. I'm not an expert. Then give me a 1. Awesome. I see a lot of courageous and very honest people. Typing 1 in. Good for you, Susan. I appreciate you. Jamie, Lisa Wright, Aggie. What's going on, Aggie? Susan, Courtney, Jan, Sally, all these folks jumping out here and typing 1 because they honestly know that about themselves. And guess what? That self-awareness is the very first step to self-growth, to getting better. Now, I bring this up because as I was going through this magazine, I realized there's still value here, all right? It's not like it's just total garbage. It's a whole lot better than reading like Newsweek or Time Magazine or any of these other crappy magazines that are driven by the news and have an agenda behind it. This magazine is actually designed to help people. I just realized, hey, man, maybe I've outgrown this, and that's okay. The challenge that I have for you this weekend, as you head into the weekend and start kind of thinking about what the week has been and the week that's coming up next week, what you want to achieve for that week, is ask yourself, how much have you actually grown? Chances are you've probably grown quite a bit. Even if this is your first week, even your first day in business, you're a much more capable, stronger, wiser person than you were yesterday. Chances are. Now, you may look back over the last month, year, and say to yourself, man, I've kind of grown stagnant. Guess what? Not a terrible thing to recognize. It's just something to realize and something to work on. Here's the thing. We'll talk about the authority factor. The authority factor is this sort of, if you think about it, it's almost like it's like a psychology. It's a belief system. It could even be considered a perception. And what that means is that we look at somebody or something else and see them as an authority. When we see them as an authority, we trust them, generally speaking. We go to them for advice. We tap their knowledge. We use their expertise to help us get better in a certain area of our life. So if you're looking to get better in your health and fitness, you might look at somebody like a trainer or a nutritionist as an authority. You might look even at a doctor or a cardiologist, somebody who has to deal with the inner workings of what it means to be healthy and fit. If that's how you see them, you'll see them as an authority. You'll say, okay, I'm going to take their advice and I'm going to use that as gospel. Now, some people, they fall into this thing where they start kind of adoring or even worshiping some of these people like they're gurus, right? The challenge that I would ask you to look at is if you fall too quickly in love with something, And I'm not talking about a person like your heartthrob, your love, your relationships. I'm talking about an expert or an authority. If all of a sudden you just start taking people's word at face value, I want you to take a step back. All right, I want you to actually slow things down and ask yourself, okay, obviously there's something about this person's message that's really resonating with me. What is that? It's not always the person themselves. And listen, even with me, I would say this: challenge yourself. If there's something that I say or anybody here in EMP that says that teaches you something, you're like, oh my gosh, that person's so, is such a genius or such an expert. Pump the brakes just a little bit. What we don't want to do is put other people on pedestals, all right? It's an ego game at that point. It's not about putting you lower than somebody else or yourself higher than somebody else. It's not about that. It's about seeing ourselves as equals, seeing ourselves as generating something valuable for other people. Sometimes what we generate is an idea. Sometimes what we generate is an awakening. Sometimes what we generate for somebody is a kick in the ass that they so desperately needed, and that's fine. But what we want to do is see that person as valuable and see ourselves as equally valuable, because we're going to take what they taught us and put it into action. So yesterday on the webinar, we were talking about this, and people were kind of struggling with the idea that they could possibly be an authority. And what I found was there was a lot of people that were charging $0 for their wisdom, basically free coaching. Now, these are people who have worked their tails off, all right? They've worked their asses off to get good. They've invested, in many cases, tens of thousands of dollars to get that wisdom. And then they turn around and they want to coach people for free. And I'm thinking to myself, how crazy is that? Most people, when they get into business, they're looking to generate what we call an ROI, a return on investment, right? And most people understand that. Now, let me ask you this. Does it make sense to you to invest thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in yourself, only to turn around and give that away for free? Now, many people may say, well, sure, JT, I'm a person that's a big-hearted person. I want to help people. I don't want to be perceived as greedy, and I totally get it. But let's be clear. There's a difference between greed and there's a difference between being ridiculous about your business. Being greedy means that you don't give back. Being greedy means you're not out there to help other people. And when most people give back to other people, whether they're getting paid for it or not, that is coming from a place of authentically caring about another person's growth. If you are coming from a place where you authentically care about other people's growth, then there's no reason why you shouldn't get paid for it. All right? It's cool. Now, does this mean that you don't have to go out and do free stuff? Sure, go ahead, write a blog post, do a Facebook Live, do a webinar. You don't have to charge for those things, and you can give great value. You can give a ton of information, but make sure that you're giving people an opportunity to go further with you by asking them for the sale. Now, here's why this is important, and the whole point behind me sharing this with you today. To be seen as an authority is not to be seen as somebody who's standing by the road feeding people for free. All right, that's not an authority figure. That's somebody who is a charitable person, and that's awesome. It's a beautiful characteristic. But to be seen as an authority is somebody that people can go to and trust and invest in themselves with. All right. So if I see you as an authority, I want to be able to invest my money with you so that you can teach me. That is where we get to really establish the fact that, hey, you know what you're talking about, and you can help me go to that next level. And you may say to yourself, but JT, now we brought money into the situation. Isn't that weird? Isn't that uncomfortable? Isn't that crazy? And the answer is absolutely not. Because once we pay for something, especially if we pay a pretty good premium for it, we suddenly value it more. Does that make sense? If somebody gives you something for free, on the offset, you may not value it as much as if you paid for it. Now, that's not always the case with like a gift. If somebody gives you a gift at the holidays, if somebody gives you a gift for your birthday or for your wedding or for your anniversary or whatever, of course you're going to value that. But what I'm talking about is the stuff that really means a lot, like the stuff you have to work for. So if it comes to building a business, which is hard work, and somebody comes to you for advice and you charge them for that information, they are going to value it far more. They are going to actually work with it, and they're going to do something with it. If it's something where they're trying to build a business, something that's hard, and you give them free advice, they may take it or they may not. And the danger there is that we keep them stuck. That's the real scary part. Can you imagine this? Working your tail off. You've built a business. You've invested in yourself. You've invested in your business. Somebody comes to you for help. You've got the answer. They need you. They're in pain. You give them the solution, but they don't go and they don't run with it, and because you didn't charge them for it, right? All of a sudden, we've created them in a stuck state. We've left them in a place where they were actually worse off before, because now we've heightened their awareness. Now they're looking for the solution. We've given them the solution and they're stuck. Whereas before they just didn't have a solution, and that's an honest place most people are in business. This is why it's key and essential to remember you can be an authority figure. You have to trust and you have to value yourself, though. That's the key part that I want you to take away from today's lesson. You have to trust your own value, all right? And you have to honor that value. Do not be afraid to get paid for what you know. Do not be afraid to get paid for doing great things in the world. Now, does this mean you have to charge a nickel and dime people for everything? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. And again, remember, you can give stuff away. You can give your free download, your free audio. You can give the 10-day boot camp. You can give great stuff for free. That's awesome. You want to establish a relationship with people. I'm not saying that everything has to be a constant sales pitch. What I am saying, though, is we got to swing that pendulum back over here where we start to trust and believe in ourselves and have that value and honor that value so that we can actually go out and do more good in the world. The last part that I'll talk to you about is this concept of perception, especially when it comes to authority. Many of you have probably heard of a gentleman by the name of Mike Dillard. If you have never heard of Mike Dillard, you need to go do some research because Mike Dillard has deep roots in the very birthplace and the very kind of beginning stages of Elite Marketing Pro here. So I'm not going to go deep into it, but Mike Dillard's an awesome guy, very smart, very wise, worked his tail off. One of the most awesome stories in our industry about a guy who worked his butt off to become great at what he does. He is seen as an authority figure. He is somebody who knows a lot about copywriting, knows a lot about sales, knows a lot about business, knows a lot about this industry, knows a lot about life in general. Well, he's got a podcast that's pretty remarkable. And I've listened to it, off and on for a couple of years, but haven't ever been what I would call an ardent fan. The other day, however, he had a gentleman on his podcast. Never heard of him before. Turns out this particular guy is a big-time heavy hitter, especially in the retail business when it comes to health and wellness supplements. Now, I'm not necessarily big into supplements. I think they're great, but I'm just not, somebody who gets all geeked up about it. But I have heard of his company, but I've never heard of the guy himself. I do a little bit more research on this dude and realize, man, he's awesome. This particular guy that Mike Dillard had interviewed on his podcast has his own podcast, and he's interviewed some pretty amazing people. And all of a sudden, boom, my eyes were open, my brain was totally expanded just by meeting this dude through an interview. Now, in the world that he operates in, this gentleman over here, he is a big-time big dude, right? Like crushing it in business. And he's got some amazing advice. Had I never heard of him through Mike Dillard, I may not hear from him for years. Who knows? Maybe never forever. Does that make him not an authority just because I've never heard of him? The same goes for you. Just because people haven't heard of you yet does not mean you cannot grow yourself into an authority figure. What this guy did over here was bust his ass. He worked every single day. He did everything he could possibly do. And when he thought, man, I've done enough, he realized I'm just getting started. Now, remember, this is not a hustle your face off message. Okay, we're not talking about that. I'm not talking about you're not working hard enough or you're not doing enough. Please understand that. What I'm saying is you may not be honoring yourself enough. You may not be valuing yourself enough. When you value yourself, you know that you've got good stuff and you keep putting it out. When you honor yourself, you say to yourself, I have good stuff and I can get much better at it. And so you work, and you work. You refine, you refine, you refine. You make mistakes. You make tweaks. Sometimes you're going to have great successes and sometimes you're going to have tremendous face-planting failures. And it's all okay. The point is this. If you want to be seen as an authority figure, it's not about people adoring you. It's not about people throwing you a ticker tape parade. It's not about having the most views on Facebook or the most views on YouTube. It's not about having the most likes, the most followers, the most tweets, the most twits, none of that crap. It's about having quality stuff and about having the commitment, the discipline, the follow through to share it with the world. Even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't feel like the authority, even when you think to yourself, who am I talking to? I'm speaking to empty white space. The simple fact of the matter is you are an authority, but you have to grow into it. You have to honor yourself and your message. You have to value yourself and realize that what you have can make an impact with people, but it can only make an impact if you get out there and share it. So my question is, what's your excuse? What's holding you back? Look yourself in the mirror and answer that. Don't answer it to me. Answer it to yourself and make a commitment to start creating the authority factor in your business today, right here, right now. When you do that, you will start making a massive impact in other people's lives. You'll start making a massive impact in your own financial life. But more importantly, you'll start to really feel what it means to be you, the true, authentic you, the you that may have been trapped and hidden for far too long. Those days are over, my friend. It's time to unleash the beast from within, the beast that you are, the beast you've always been, that beautiful person, the beauty and the beast. Get after it today and every single day and get your message out there and start being seen as the authority by seeing yourself as the authority right here, right now, today. All right, my friends, well, that just about does it for today. This wraps up another big week here in the EMP community. Grateful as always to be with you guys. Thanks for joining us here each and every single Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you got something from this message, if it landed for you, if it had an impact on you, then make sure you get it out there and share it with your people. Use this as free content. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. Lean on the people that you see as authority figures here. Become one yourself. And by the way, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, especially if you're brand new and you haven't done so yet. Facebook.com/Elite Marketing Pro. And of course, if you haven't yet, make sure you access our free 10-day boot camp. Yes, it's free, and it's there to design to help you to build and expand your business online. You can grab that over at EliteMarketingPro.com. And remember, no matter what course you fly in life, fly high, fly fast, and fly far. We'll be coming at you Monday with another message of the Daily Dose of Awesome. Until then, have an amazing weekend. We'll see you soon.